All right, welcome everyone to an exclusive episode of SMC Sports/Takes. I'm your host, Michael Happ.
I'm your other host, JWuerdz.
And today we've got an exclusive co-host, Jordan Hoover. Jordan is a defensive back for the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the CFL right now. So, growing up here in the small city of Sault Ste. Marie, you must have had to work really hard to make it. How did it feel to be selected in the 4th round of the CFL draft back in 2017?
Well, first and foremost, thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be here. Been really excited about this, looking forward to this. But to answer your question, nothing short of a dream come true. You know, I think getting drafted, quite some time ago now in 2017, being drafted was almost, it was the recognition of all the hard work you put into it.
Yeah.
You know, all the long hours in the gym, all the games you played, all the practices, all the ups and downs, trials, triumphs, things like that. As a kid, it becomes a dream, and you work so hard towards that, and then to finally hear your name get called on draft day, it's like, wow, yeah, it was all worth it. And then it's short-lived, and then it's, oh my God, my nerves. I'm going to play pro football. What have I got myself into? This is going to be a whirlwind, but amazing, dream come true. Still gives me chills when I think back on it. That's for sure.
Who is your biggest inspiration of the sport?
I grew up a Brett Favre fan. So Brett Favre, and he was a quarterback, mind you.
I
So
was
it's
never a Favre fan myself.
okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Offensive guy, honestly. He was the reason we started watching football. But honestly, one of my biggest inspirations outside of like the sporting world was like my family. I have a twin brother, and his passion for football too, and our rivalry growing up. He played offense, I played defense. So just his commitment to football, and how often that we would go out in the backyard and play against each other, and just growing up, the old saying, right? Yeah. Iron sharpens iron. Yeah. But my family for sure, and outside from my brother, my mom, my dad, my sister, wanting to do it for them.
Yeah.
So our family, big inspiration always.
Yeah.
Why did you play hockey? Because I know your father was a Greyhound.
Yeah. So my dad, Tim Hoover, Greyhound, mid '80s.
Yeah.
He might be a little upset if I don't remember that exact date, so I'll just say mid '80s. But it's almost like the longest standing family joke. I come from a family hockey player, so at a very young age, I got put into like power skating. Got introduced to the game a bit, and then at one point, my twin brother and I decided that hockey was probably too rough of a sport for us. So
you chose football.
We chose football, and we thought it would be a little safer, I think. Yeah, so that's kind of why. No disappointment in the family there. Maybe, to be honest, a little bit of regret on our part. I think we could have been pretty good at it, but successful enough in football to not lose sleep at night over not thinking about not playing hockey. So.
How big was the transition from university football to the CFL? You were a star defensive back for the University of Waterloo, who led the country with 5 interceptions back in 2015. Did you go into the CFL with that same type of confidence that you had in university?
Interesting question. I think at that level, confidence is everything. You're the new kid on the block, we'll say. Obviously, we can recognize the speed of the game, the physicality of the game, things like that. But it also is going from more of like a recreation type sport into a business. So I was very quickly introduced to the business sides of things. It's the first time in my life where I was being offered money to play football. Yeah. So it was a little bit more stressful. And for me, who started to get more acquainted with the CFL, as I realized I could kind of get into it, you started watching the games and things like that. And for me, I got drafted to Edmonton in 2017. There's some big names, Mike Riley, Darius Bowman, the quarterback wide receiver combo there. Some big guys on the D line like Odell Willis, things like that. And you're just like sharing a locker room with them all of a sudden. So the confidence I had at Waterloo and expected to keep walking into the CFL was definitely tested. I don't think I found, what we call like our swagger, like that swagger you play with. It definitely took me a year or two, maybe even a year too long to really find it. But once I did, and again, like I had to continue to remind myself, like they picked me, like they seen something in me even though I couldn't see it. They saw something in me that they thought was worthwhile, and they wanted to helped me grow that. But it was hard to keep that confidence that I had, but it was necessary. And the sooner you got it back, the better you were. Right? Self-doubt's a killer.
I think what a lot of people don't realize is that the CFL is actually the second best football league in the world.
Yeah.
So it is incredibly impressive to go into that league and even to adjust in the year or two that it took you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'd say it's the best, but I know what we're saying here for sure. Yeah, you know, I think the market's small for it. I think it's like a hidden gem, but honestly, the skill level, you know, I'm not going to say it's on par, but we get a lot of guys crossing back and forth, and it is a different game in many ways. You know, the way some routes are in, some of the ruling, size of the field, 3 downs. It's more of a passing lane, things like that. So
sure.
definitely a little different. It's hard to compare the two, you know, side by side, but I for sure get what you're saying there. Absolutely.
So you mentioned how big of a support of your family.
Yep.
And all that. So what is the support your family has given you throughout, you know, your early life to going to the CFL?
Right. So you know, I just turned 30 years old. So I've had a lot more time now, especially having the year off with injury to kind of reflect back. And I think it started at an early age. Just the sacrifices, you know, my family made. You know. The early morning practices, the cars, you know, we grew up in Hayden, so the car rides were a little extra long. But having my brother in it too, and my sister playing sports at the same time, like making sure that I was always at practice, making sure I was always there for the games, making sure that I was well fed before these things, you know, all these small sacrifices that I haven't had to do. You know, I don't have a kids yet, but just those types of things. And then you know, just the motivation that they gave me, like the days you don't want to go to practice, but how hard they worked to ensure that I had everything I needed. I never wanted to disappoint them, you know, I never wanted to disappoint them. And I think understanding that a little bit while I was in high school helped me when, you know, you go away to university and no one's really, other than the coaches and the, you know, discipline action you'd get from missing or being late to a team meeting or, you know, stuff like that. I think that helped me realize, hey, there's no one really here pushing me anymore. I got to hold myself a bit more accountable. You know, good teammates help you do that too, and the good coaching staffs we had. But really, it comes down to you. And I think everything my family gave to me, it was a good motivating factor to just continue to better myself. You know, just a little bit every single day.
How do you deal with like the stress of life and school, and also the sport as well?
Yeah, it's tough, man. I just try and I don't try and compare myself to anybody. You know, it's hard because like when you get to the league and, you know, being as privileged as I to like start for 3 years and things like that, everyone's good at football. I'm good at football. You might be just as good, but you're better at something else than me, and I'm worse than you at some. Don't compare yourself, but it's hard. So I like to use my resources, my teammates, my coaches. The best thing I always did for myself to prepare myself for the stress of that was being prepared. And that was, you know, the hours of film and film study and the practices and the late nights, you know. In the CFL, you know, we have a CFL PA body and that kind of protects you, your rights as a player. And when, you know, training camps are long days, you usually get there 6 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, you're there till about 9:30 at night, and you know it's long hours, long practices, and that's when the heat's just starting to, you know, pick up, depending on what city you're in. But once you get in season, they're only allowed to have you for 4.5 hours. That includes meetings in the morning, the practice, getting off the field. But outside of that, 4.5 hours is nowhere near long enough to prepare you for the game. So you would stay, you know, you'd get off the field, you'd be done at 1:30, you know, then you get your therapy, you get your recovery, you go in the cold tubs, you do what you need to do, you get the massages, you know, go upstairs, watch the film. Realistically, you're not getting out there till about 6 o'clock at night. But that, again, that's kind of what I alluded to earlier. No one's forcing you to do that. That's learned behavior that you know you need to do, because, you know, there are guys that only do the 4.5 hours and, you know, they take their shower, they go home for the day. They do their film study at home. I always like to do my film study at home too. Just, it doesn't matter what you do, you find the process that works for you, and then you show up on game day, you just got to perform. But being prepared helped ease the stress. You know, it's tough. It's a tough world to be in. You know, I remember my first year or two, I would always go online and look at like a forum or go on Facebook and. Not always the nicest things said about you on there, so it's quite the blow to your self-confidence, but I think that like maturing in that world, and it comes with time, right? It's not something that, like I mentioned earlier, like lack of confidence early on, but as I grew and your understanding of the game and experience is the best teacher, and that speed we talked about and the physicality, it starts to slow down. You have more confidence, but preparation is key for sure, no matter what.
Was Manziel one of those guys that usually left right after one?
I can't speak for him, but he was on a different team. But I imagine being a quarterback, especially coming from the NFL, he knew what it takes to be a pro. Maybe just a tough, rude awakening, we'll say. It's a little bit different game. It feels a little wild. Those corner route balls are a little bit farther than he's used to throwing. So,
so was your intent always to play in the CFL, or did you ever see the NFL as a possibility?
So, grew up watching the NFL, and that's the dream, right? You see the hockey players in the suit, like young kids, like, I'm going to be in the NHL, I'm going to be in the NHL. And then, you get to high school and realize Sault Ste. Marie is very hidden from the rest of the world. Like, I even had a hard time getting recruited, to go play university football in Ontario. I think the only reason I had that opportunity was to play SaberCats and get a little travel time and a little bit more exposure. Yeah, of course. As a kid, you want to be in the NFL. You want to be on the big screen. You want to be making the big money. But realistically, no. CFL for me wasn't even a dream either. It was, hey, I like being athletic. I like playing with my brother. Sign up for SMFA at 8 years old. Every Sunday, you have a game. You're practicing maybe twice a week. You get good at that. Then you roll into high school. You have a little bit of a reputation, a little bit of your name for yourself. You get to play with all the kids that were able to separate themselves at the Sault Minor, and then you're in that same high schools together. So you start learning how to compete against, what the best of Sault has to offer. Found out I was pretty good at that too. Got recruited actually a year at University of Windsor. That was a unique experience, we'll say.
What was so unique about it?
I was redshirted, and that means that you don't get to play. You practice, which is you practice, but you'll never play. And I ended up transferring out. We'll say we'll leave it. We'll leave it at that.
Smart decision.
But I went to Waterloo, and that was a unique experience also because I played 4 years there, and we only won 2 games. So
you still won 2.
Yeah, still won. Thank you. I appreciate that. I never looked at it from that perspective, but it could have been worse, right? It could have only been 1.
Not even 1.
Yeah, so I kind of lost my train of thought there, but I think that's when you start to get more skill and it's faster paced and everyone starts to even out. Then they have the East-West Bowl. And that's kind of like the all-star game in the CFL, and they do like a mini combine. So you run your 40, you run your all your shuttle and agility drills. You have to do some tests and things like that. It was placing pretty high in that. I got to play in the game. start to get some actual pro recognition, and then you go back for your last year of school, and that's your draft year. And that's really when I thought, I think I can do this. So that's more when I realized it. So I'd say like the last year of university is really when I put all my eggs into that basket. I was able to graduate on time because of my year at Windsor without playing. So I had one of my academic year finished from there, but no eligibility to use. So I was 1 year ahead in schooling, and then so I lined it up 4 more years of playing with 4 more years of school. So I was able to graduate. So I knew that if it didn't work out, I could get into the working world or something like that, but obviously very thankful that it did.
It seems like a very key aspect to your success has been your mentality. Since you were young,
For sure.
From everything you said, it just sounds like you had the right mentality.
For sure.
And your parents raised you right, and then it continued through university. You got redshirted, didn't get down on yourself, decided to transfer, got opportunities, didn't look at the how bad you guys might be, and you just kept pushing forward, and that's why you ended up where you did.
Yeah, for sure. And I always, I think failure is a good thing. We all want to be successful, but I think if you just ride that success wave off into the sunset, that you lose how to appreciate the small moments of success.
Absolutely.
Right? So
that's why you see a lot of big athletes that didn't have the best childhood because they're used to it when they're younger.
So and then I always used to remind myself like I didn't work this hard or come this far for it to end here. So I always wanted to be the best, even though in the back of your mind you'll never be the absolute, but I do want to strive to be the absolute best, if not the best football player out there, the best version of Jordan Hoover as a football player.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, do you have any pregame rituals, like
Yeah.
any?
Yeah,
weird
so
things you do?
so I do. This isn't much of a pregame ritual. I would love to share it. I'm very superstitious.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So even putting on my equipment, even my shoes in the morning, it's always the left one first, then the right. So even if I like put on like my right flip flop because I'm just the right angle, I'll take it off and put the left one on.
I have a similar mentality.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
do.
It
I
has,
really do.
because if I've been successful doing these things, I need to keep doing them. So when I go to
Exactly.
practice, it's always, left shoe or left sock, right sock,
Yeah.
left shoe, right shoe, same put it on. And like, I have like 2 shirts that I love, and if they're missing in the laundry, like I'll wait by the laundry room for the equipment and be like, I need that shirt. I need that shirt.
Why change what works?
Exactly.
Right, but as for pregame rituals, so we used to set up what we call like day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. Day 4 being the day before the game, and then game day.
Yeah.
Basically like, light practice, heaviest practice, easiest practice, walk through day, game day. So usually about the night of day 3, that's my big, go for massage. In Edmonton they had float tanks. I love to do float tanks.
That sounds
Just like sitting in that dark room, just like, I'm really big at like envisioning. Like I
Yeah.
really think that's a strong tool. Like, yeah, I want to make some plays in football, but thinking about it and visualizing, like making the interception or making the touchdown saving tackle, that kind of brings it to life. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So the float tanks I absolutely love, and like just the weightlessness of it too. So taking care of your body, especially on day 3, big hydration process, things like that. Day 4, if it's it's a home game, you kind of go to the stadium early.
Yeah.
You watch, last minute. Fine detail tunings, tune up everything, get on the field, go through walkthrough, make sure everyone's on the same page, then you pretty much get the rest of your day to yourself. If it's a travel day, you show up at the airport, you fly to the city that you're supposed to be playing in, and then from there you kind of do your meetings there, and then you kind of have the night off. But for me, I'm always a big steak guy. So for me, it's got to be steak that night. It's usually like a pasta for lunch the day before,
Okay.
give me some energy. Then that night, it's always a medium rare New York strip loin, a blue cheese iceberg wedge salad, and 1 glass of red wine.
Wow.
Yeah, 1 glass of
You
red wine.
command pretty big.
Yeah, and then dinner with the fellas. Usually
Yeah,
defensive
absolutely.
backs with defensive backs, but it's not uncommon to. A lot of my good friends on the team are D linemen, O linemen. It's
Yeah.
just great people all across the board. But sitting with your teammates, I say let loose as in like enjoy the opportunity, not the wine, but let loose, talk about what, you're gonna have a good game. No, you're gonna have a good, and just the camaraderie, building that, and then the
Team
next.
chemistry.
Yeah, thank you.
Team
Yeah,
chemistry.
team chemistry, and then getting a good night's sleep. Get up early the next morning. Kind of eat like a rabbit that day. The nerves are there. I always think nerves are good. My Baba, when she was alive, she'd say, if you're nervous, it's because you're about to do great things. And I always used to like cherish that. So I'd be exceptionally nervous on game day. I must admit that I was going to do exceptionally great things. But light breakfast, nap, get up, watch a little film, have a float in the pool, quick hot tub, not too long. You don't want to dehydrate yourself, loosen up, things like that. A lot of guys like to go on the early bus. I like to go on the latest bus possible. I don't want to be there too long before the game. I don't want to be in my equipment, too long. I want to be in it as short as possible before I have to go out there, and then just putting on the helmet, getting out there, and then just playing, muscle memory football.
Yeah.
So I think you've answered this throughout the interview, but there are a lot of aspects of the game that football fans don't see.
Sure.
It's really just it's not wake up, practice, game.
Mhm.
There are
Yeah.
so many things
Mhm.
that go in between practice, and it's a lot mental stuff and stuff that you have to prepare, get
Absolutely.
a good schedule,
Yep.
and then just keep going with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
With what
Like,
works.
on Saturdays or Friday nights when you guys see us, it's us at our peak, running out of the tunnel,
Yeah.
playing good Canadian football. But for me, it's a 7-day-a-week job.
Yeah.
I leave home at early May. I leave my fiance at home. I leave my dog. I move away to a different city for 6 months. But
That's not easy.
No, it's not, and at times it's been very difficult. But it's my job.
Yeah.
And it's business. It's not fun. It's not pleasure. Like, I have fun doing it, but it's work. If I don't perform, someone else will get my job, and someone else. We would say they're trying to take food off my plate. Like, it's like like for me and my backup at the time, it's like a relationship as like the goalie and the backup goalie would have, like, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, for sure. It's like, we're good friends, you know, we like being around each other, like going out for dinner and like working and practicing to make each other better. But at the end of the day, as soon as I forget that he wants my job, you know, he's waiting for me to slip, right? But a lot of behind the scene hours, you know, early mornings, late nights, hard work, film study, taking care of your body, taking care of your mind, the preparation, you know, how you're eating, things like that. It's all encompassing, and it's there's more hours behind the scene that there are in front of the camera. That's for sure.
Do you have any fans that you love?
By default, the Edmonton fans. Yeah, you know what? Great. I think the most I ever played in front of was 44,000.
Really?
Wow.
Which for me was amazing. You know, I come from the small city of Sault Ste. Marie. You know, at Waterloo, I kind of mentioned how we had a rough couple seasons. So I think the most there might have been like 1,500. You know, 2,000.
That's a big jump.
So it was a big jump, and you know, I'll never forget the first time I was on the field and I seen someone like wearing my jersey. That was special. Yeah, absolute special moment for me. And then, you know, throughout training camp, you do fan days, so you get to really interact and meet them, and just starting to understand the privilege it is for me and like the platform I have to kind of do good. You know, the kids just want to be close to you. They want to learn from you. You're automatically a role model. So, you know, they give you what we call appearances, and, you know, you go out into the community, and, you know, I used to be like an ambassador for Jump Rope for Heart. So I can go to the school and play with the kids and jump rope with them and teach them a little bit about, you know, how physical, you know, work is good for the heart and, you know, good for the mind and soul and stuff like that. But any opportunity to like get involved in the community of Edmonton, it was incredible.
How did you like their name change from the Eskimos?
Yeah, you know what? I understand it. I think, you know, anytime you change something like that after the prestige and history that they had as, you know, the Eskimos, you kind of lose the identity a bit. But I understand the reasoning. So, you know, I don't not like the name Elks.
Well, are they aware that it's not actually Elks? It should be Elk.
That's an ongoing debate, apparently. But you know, I think my only like regret with that name change is the season we had following. So the first year, you know, that the Elks came to fruition, it was a tough season. So, but it was following COVID year, so it was hard for all the teams, right? Yeah. So, but I'm proud to say that I was starter on the last Eskimo team and the starter on the first Elk team, and no one can really say that, right?
Very impressive.
Yeah.
Is there any fans that you dislike?
You know what? Two stories. So one time I was playing in Winnipeg. Yeah. And there, it's very
cold.
Yeah, it definitely can be for sure. Intimate, like they're very close to the benches. Yeah. And I was sitting on the bench and I could hear like, you know, 28, and I know it's me, like, nah, I'm not gonna look. Like you know.
But you want to look.
Yeah, for sure. And then I just hear like Jordan. I'm like, oh, it must be someone I know in Winnipeg. Man, it's open. I turn around and a guy looking at like the brochure or whatever it's called with all the teams' names on it. You know, the list of teams' names, and then he's like, "You suck." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm supposed to. I'm a Hoover." You know what I mean? Like that's my running joke with that. I guess.
Is he in the CFL though?
Exactly. And then one time in Hamilton, we were playing in the Eastern Conference Finals, so one away from the Grey Cup. And, you know, they always say the game's never over until it's over. Yeah. This game was over. Yeah, we were losing pretty bad. We had about 4 or 5 minutes left, and, like, you can already feel morale at a low. Like, you're already, you know, say, oh, you know, like, good year, man, good year. You know, it's going to be a horrible ride home. And I got hit in the back of the head by a snowball from a Hamilton fan. And I was all fired up because it was like adding insult to injury for me. But so those are like, the fans are engaging. You'll say, you know, whatever. It's all good to me.
You'll never see that in the NFL. Never.
But no bad fans, just passionate fans for other teams, right? Edmonton picked me, right? So great fans across the league. Fans across the league.
Did you ever play with any well-known NFL players or any guys who went on to play in the NFL?
Sure. you know, most recently there's a quarterback in BC. He just signed with Jacksonville Jaguars, Canadian, which I think is unreal, and he was on record-setting pace. His name is Nathan Rourke. So there's an example of, you know, a guy jumping from the CFL to NFL. I played with the receiver in my first 2 years, I believe. Brandon Zylstra, he moved on to the Vikings, the Panthers. I think he was in Detroit. He ended up playing with his brother. A lot of guys work hard in the CFL, get the recognition that they obviously deserve, and then they get opportunities down south. You know, there's always a handful of guys after our season concludes where, you know, I'm thinking 15, 20 guys get invited to NFL camps, and some of them stick. You know, there's even, for example, at the University of Waterloo, there's twins, Trey and Tyrell Ford, unbelievable athletes, generational athletes. You know, I never had the privilege of playing with them, but I know the defensive back just signed with a futures contract with the Green Bay Packers. You know, after 1 year as a rookie in the CFL.
Yeah, they need a lot of help right now.
Yeah. So I think there was a question about my favorite team, and that's them. So thanks for that comment.
Oh, you're a Packers fan?
Yeah.
I'm a Seahawks fan.
Oh, God. Okay, I think this interview's done, fellas. But on the flip side, you know, we kind of mentioned Johnny Manziel coming up. He's an example of the NFL coming up, you know, to the CFL. Vince Young, I think he was in Saskatchewan, didn't really stick. You know, I know Ocho Cinco played in Montreal.
Ocho Cinco.
Yeah, you can Google it, yeah. Just very briefly, and he'll actually talk about the difference of the game. You know, there's, you know, couple guys, Paxton Lynch, I think, was up here in Saskatchewan. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, laugh it up, but there is a bigger bridge. No, I never had the.
Couldn't be that hard.
Yeah, but there's a better connection. It's more a hidden connection, but that road is well traveled both ways, for sure.
Yeah. Is there any comments about like trying to say anything about young rising athletes?
Yeah.
Like anything you want to say to them?
For sure. It's a long, winding road. It is. We talked a little bit about, you know, trials, triumphs, failures. Don't ever give up. You know, I was told many times, hey, you're not good enough. You know, you're too small. You know, you're too slow. Let that fuel you.
I've been as well. I'm trying to go somewhere for baseball. I've been told stuff like that.
So you can relate, right? Like,
Absolutely.
There's gonna be, you know, for lack of a better word, haters, right? But let them be your motivators. You know that old saying, just continue to work hard. You know, I always used to say, I'll work hard in the dark so I can shine in the lights.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a big social media guy. You know, a lot of people I know, it's like, you know, they go for their workouts. Look at me, you know, look how much I'm lifting, things. You won't see me posting workout videos. You know, I'm my biggest competition. When the light comes on and I run out of the tunnel, I'm gonna be the best me. But really, for sure. But don't give up. It's gonna be peaks and valleys. Appreciate the good times, but never forget the hard times. I promise you, it all works out in the end. Just keep going. You lean on the resources you have, your friends, your family, your teammates. Ask for help where you need it. You know, the first time, I think asking for help is like getting to the weight room the first time. Yeah. First time you ask for help for anything, it's the hardest.
Oh yeah.
No matter what it is, it's the hardest.
Yeah.
The second time you ask for help, it's a little bit easier. And it gets easier and easier, and then people start asking you for help because that's how you gain experience. But ask for help, lean on your resources, never give up. Just keep going, man. It's dark and windy, but it's worth it, I promise you. It always is.
So you just took a job here as the, I wouldn't say, let's call it a job, as a coach for the St. Mary's Knights. How do you hope to help this team next year or this year going forward? One of the other teams in the Sioux, the Core Colts, they have been a very high-ranked team in Canada year after year. How do you hope to lead this Knights team to be better than Core this year?
You know what? At the end of the day, I hope to, and let me start by saying, just because of my surgery things, that I haven't been as involved as I'd like to. But moving forward, as much as I can, my free time, I'll be spending here with the kids. But my number one goal is helping them develop into like the young men I think that they deserve to be. When I was their age, I didn't really have much of an older role model to kind of help me along the way. So I want to be to them what I wish I had as a kid. You know, family aside type of thing, like someone to really look up to. So helping them develop the game of football along the way, the game of life. You know, fine tuning their skills on the field, helping them understand the game a little bit, as I have, quite the experience, understanding of the game. So to see that offense, that core runs, I'm really excited to kind of develop a game plan to see if my experience at a pro level will be able to stop them. Instilling self-confidence, I think that's very contagious, and if they think that they can beat them, that's half the battle. But
They beat them once this year.
exactly, that's all it takes, just a little glimmer of hope, right?
Yeah.
So continue to work on that. Like I said, just helping them develop, instilling the confidence that they need to have and learn, and just being a good role model for them. And at the end of the day, just having fun.
Yeah.
Going out there, playing good football, making plays, celebrating as a team, and helping build the culture and community of St. Mary's football bigger than it is.
What made you choose St. Mary's?
To be honest, I was a St. Basil Saint, so by default when we amalgamated here. But Jim Monaco was my coach at St. Mary's. I know a lot of the Zagordos here too. And Brandon Crowley, Brandon Crowley has been one of my lifelong best friends. I think him and I have been playing football together since we were 8 years old.
Wow.
His dad was my first head coach. His dad, Jim, is the reason I played defensive back. I played with Brandon at University of Waterloo. Lovely guy, just like being around him. I think his beliefs, are important to this team. I truly believe in what he does and his passion for this school and this team, and I just want to be a part of it. It's very contagious. So that's what we're trying to pass on to them. Like, he cares, We're trying to get the kids to show up for the workouts. This is, I'm going on air saying, guys, get to the workouts, man. We need all of you, not just 4 or 5. We need you all. But just sharing in that passion and that belief, like he believes, like we talk about all that behind the scenes. Like, for some of the kids here, it's still workouts on Tuesdays and Thursdays. For us, it's texting. Like, we're texting yesterday about, okay, what are we doing for the workout? What kind of system do you want to run? Things like that. So it's a lot of behind the scenes too. He's got a full-time job. He's busy, and all he wants to do is try football.
Yeah.
So I know what he believes and wants to try and do here, and I believe in him, and I want to be a part of that. Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you for coming on the show today, Jordan. We really, really appreciate this exclusive interview. And thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll be back on the air tomorrow at 8:10, and we all three of us hope that you enjoyed this show.
Yeah.
So we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.